All right, welcome back. It's AFCON Express all the way, where we look at what happened in the group stage of the Africa Cup of Nations. Teams that have qualified to the round of 16. The round of 16 fixtures already outlined, with key watering or mouth-watering fixtures to look forward to, with, of course, beginning this weekend in different parts of Morocco. And we're talking about, what to expect. With teams knowing fully well that a loss for them means they will be locked out of the competition. So it's either you win or you go home. That's the point at which we are right now. As the Super Eagles of Nigeria, part of the teams that will be in the round of 16, yes, definitely. But let's go straight to the story. Former Super Eagles forward and 1994 Africa Cup of Nations winner Daniel Amokachi has been working at the Africa Cup of Nations as commentator for the official broadcasters. He took time of his media duties to talk about the tactics employed by teams at the tournament, as well as pick out players and teams that have impressed so far in the competition.
Well, the AFCON has really stand out, this year. When you look at Algeria, you look at even Mozambique, you look at one of the favorites, Senegal. But, for me, I think Congo, DRC Congo, what the coach, Sebastien, has done with the team has been very incredible, because the way they set up, the way they play, they build up from the back. The midfield players knowing when to, when to surge forward and when to hold back. The distribution of the ball and, staying compact. I think, for me, they really stand out, but not stand out in a gap where you can see the other nations that I mentioned, and even the teams that are going back home, like Gabon. They didn't look that bad as well. We have a few. We have Ibrahim Mbaye, the 19-year-old, Paris Saint-Germain player who plays for Senegal. He has really shown, the quality as a young man, coming off the bench in all the three group matches, and makes a difference, creating chances, assisting, and that shows a lot from a young man. And then, of course, we have two other players, Onyeka, a Nigerian, who didn't start the first game, came in the second game, and has really stand out, and I think he has 3 goals already. I think another player is Nkadi, the Moroccan player, who has scored 2, let's say, the best goals in the tournament, and we have to choose which one is the best, because, he's incredible. He didn't start the first game like Onyeka, but, comes in as a sub in the first game against Comoros, give, Morocco the 3 points, and then, in the last group game, scored another spectacular bicycle kick that earned Morocco another 3 points.
All right, that was Daniel Amokachi, also one of the former coaches of Nigeria during the time of late Stephen Keshi, talking about what he's noticed so far in the tournament, especially with the Nigerian side. But let's also move into our next talking point at the AFCON. Nigeria had a modest but notable presence in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations group stage, best 11, with only Ademola Lookman and head coach Eric Chelle making the final selection. Now, Lookman was Nigeria's sole player inclusion, earning recognition for his attacking impact and consistency during the group phase. The forward stood out with 2 goals and 2 assists in the group stage of the competition. On the touchline, Eric Chelle was named best 11 coach after guiding the side with tactical discipline and organization throughout the group stage, earning praise for his group stage wins. In contrast, several other African nations enjoyed broader representation. Morocco led with 2 players in the best 11, while Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, DR Congo, all of them had 1 representative each. Now, the selections reflect a competitive group stage with multiple nations sharing the spotlight ahead of the knockout round. Now, joining us all the way from Fez is our sports correspondent, Udoka Ujoku. Udoka, Happy New Year to you, and welcome to AFCON Express on Indigate.
Great to have you talk about sports and everything happening right here in Fez, and I'm glad to be joining the show as well.
All right, Udoka, first, I must also congratulate you. Your bag is back. I mean, after a long time waiting for your stuff. So maybe those Nigerian foods would have also gotten to you by now. But let's go straight to the CAF 11. A lot of persons are saying Nigeria topped the group, finished with 3 wins from 3, just 1 outfield player and the coach. Do you think the CAF Technical Study Group did their very best in the list they've released, considering that there's Osibe, there's Frank Onyeka, there's also Rafael Onyedika, who got 2 goals during the group stage?
Thank you very much, Favor. Truly, if those players who played the first 2 games had played the 3rd game, I'm very sure that we would have seen a lot more Nigerians on that best 11. But of course, for Ademola Lookman, in the first 2 games, you could see how brilliant he was and his performances as well, giving goals and assists in his game. Victor Osimhen did not get on the score sheet in a couple of games, and that could also tell reasons why he was not chosen to be part of the best 11. For Rafael Onyedika, he got a brace in the last game against Uganda. So other players who were consistent in the first 3 games in the group stage had a chance, merited being on that list. So I think for Eric Chelle, finishing the group with 9 points, and he didn't get to concede more than 5 goals or 4 goals in the group stage. That also gave a good testament to his performance. So I'm not going to fault that list at all, but I'll still say congratulations to Ademola Lookman and Eric Chelle for making the list. Lookman thoroughly deserves to be on that list.
All right, we'll take a pause right here and go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the CAF 11 and, of course, what to expect in the round of 16. Welcome back. You're still watching In the Game, and the segment, of course, AFCON Express, and we've been talking to our correspondent in Fes, Udoka Ojoku, talking about the CAF 11. Also, we have Damiloju Saliu in the studio. I'll come to Damiloju now. Damiloju, the CAF 11. Udoka has said, the CAF 11 to him is fair enough. You look at the contributions of each of these players for Nigeria. Lookman seemed to be one of the standout performers for Nigeria. But what do you have to make of this CAF 11, Damiloju, looking at some of the 11s or the players focused on the forwards, especially with also the midfield and the attack?
I have an issue. Not even an issue. I have issues with this particular CAF 11. First of all, it is too attack heavy. We are having Mane, we are having Diallo, we are having Mahrez, we are having Lookman, we are having Diaz. That's Brahim Diaz. Those are 5 players who are really either wingers or forwards. First of all, I don't understand how Amad Diallo is playing as the striker in this particular formation. He wasn't a striker at all in this tournament. The highest goal scorer in the tournament, El Kabi, who has scored not just 3 goals, but has scored 2 of the best goals at the tournament, is not in this CAF best 11 of the group stage. That is a sacrilege. I know Sadio Mane is a terrific player, one of the best players we have on the African continent right now, but he was not one of the best players at this group stage. Alex Iwobi is another player who, at a point in this tournament, had the most chances created of any player, not just of any midfielder, of any player. There is no position for Alex Iwobi. Then there's also Algeria, who conceded just 1 goal in the whole of the tournament, and we are struggling to fit one of their defenders into the back four when you talk about this CAF 11. So a few changes. Alex Iwobi comes to midfield. I would much rather have Ademola Lookman take the place of Sadio Mane towards that left, and you can have a midfield where Brahim Diaz can now be like an attacking midfielder, and you have Iwobi and Baleba. Mahrez stays at right wing, perfect, but El Kabi needs to lead this line, and maybe one of Ait Nouri or one of the other Algeria defenders gets to be in there. Also, Nigerians don't like this, but Eric Chelle will not be the coach. It will be the Algeria manager. They were absolutely terrific, scored 7 goals, 1 less than us, and considered just 1. We considered 4 goals. We did not keep any clean sheet at this tournament.
Interesting. The talking point of the level. Udoka Ojoku, you were, for the past few days, we know the team has been training, preparing for the round of 16 clash. What can you tell us? It's been birthday galores in the national team. We've had series of players celebrate their birthday between December 31st up until the new year. Frank Onyeka, I think yesterday was his birthday. But what's the body camp? What are we looking forward to against Mozambique, who we know that the government have promised their players 11 million plus if they get to win against Nigeria?
It is very, very good to dream. And for the birthdays, of course, a gala of birthdays that we had, Frank Onyeka, Calvin Bassey, Victor Osimhen, they all celebrated their birthdays in the past couple of days. And I hope the players will not have sugar rush. But it is good that we're playing on Sunday, so they have enough time to recuperate from all of the celebrations of birthdays. But looking ahead of that game, yes, they had a closed-door training yesterday, and the same will apply today again. We are hoping that I would have an open session with the players tomorrow to see which of the players are fit enough to feature on Monday. But the update is that I'm not even sure about Stanley Nwabali, who we saw wrapped in bandage. I was almost going to say bondage. Wrapped in bandage the other day when they were training. He's not fully fit yet. We are hoping that he'll be in good top form and top shape ahead of that game against Mozambique. And for the promise of monetary rewards to the Mozambique players, well, it is okay to dream, like I said earlier, but against the Super Eagles, it will be a tall order, except, like Eric Chelle said, Juju against DR Congo. Except that happens, that will be the only reason why the Super Eagles will lose to Mozambique. But with the way it's going, I think the boys are ready to go, and they are hoping that they can right all the wrongs, because there is a bit of deja vu hanging over them about them winning all the matches in the group stage and crashing out in the round of 16. And they believe that that will not happen this time around. They will surpass this stage, and the major one after beating Mozambique will be either Algeria or DR Congo, which is a major nemesis to Nigeria favor.
All right, Udoka, let's move on now to our next story. Gabon's government have suspended the national team and excluded Captain Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang from suspension from selection following a disastrous African Cup of Nations qualifying campaign in Morocco. Now, authorities also dismissed head coach Thierry Bouyoma and his entire technical staff after Gabon exited the tournament with 3 straight defeats. The Panthers lost to Cameroon and Mozambique before blowing a 2-0 lead to fall 3-2 against defending champions Ivory Coast, finishing bottom. Let me come to Damiloju. Damiloju, this story dropped on Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, the government said, Gabon, it's time to scrap things. Let's just allow you guys stay. Aubameyang no longer in the team. Then also another of the player who was also asked to exit the team. But these 2 players left the team even before the last game, against Mozambique. FIFA frowns against government interference. In this case, the government have said, well, Gabon, you have been disbanded for now. Is it not a case of a FIFA ban looming in the heads of Gabon?
You took the words out of my mouth, because the next question I was going to ask is, haven't we heard time and time again that we don't want government interference in football? And all of a sudden, this is what we're hearing. And it's not looking good for Gabon, because I know that we've had a situation in the past, even we as Nigerians, where our teams were banned, I think in the late 90s, where we could not go for AFCON tournaments because we had government interference. Maybe some Gabonese faithful will say, oh, even when they went for tournaments, they didn't do so well, but they had a decent chance of qualifying for the World Cup. I think they were one of the teams that had a good qualification campaign. Quite all right, they crashed and burned at this AFCON. But there are ways of taking stock. There are ways that you can go back to the drawing board and you can restructure things. It's not by disbanding the national team and going 0 to 100 and throwing the baby out to the bathwater. I think Gabon could be in some hot soup at the hands of FIFA.
All right, hot soup at the hands of FIFA. I'm talking about players who have also etched their name in gold. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Emilio Nsue etched their names into the Africa Cup of Nations history as 2 of the oldest goal scorers during the Morocco 2025 group stage. Aubameyang, aged 36 years and 6 months, rose to second on the all-time list after scoring for Gabon in their 3-2 defeat to Mozambique, while Nsue, 36 years old and 3 months, lettered in the Equatorial Guinea's loss to Algeria. Their goals highlighted the enduring influence of experience at AFCON, even as younger stars dominated headlines. The record remains with Egypt legend Osam Hassan, who scored age 39 in 2026 when the knockout rounds looming. The veteran strikes stand as lasting symbols of longevity and elite football intelligence. Udoka Ojoku, the record is yet to be broken by Osam Hassan, 39 years of age. We had 36 getting goals, Aubameyang and Nsue. Do you see this record being broken anytime soon? Which of the players you think will go all the way to 40 to get a goal at the AFCON, and that might also break the record? Do you see that happening anytime soon?
Well, one thing is guaranteed: Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will not be a part of that because he has been fired by the government of Gabon. Quite a sad one for Aubameyang right there. But looking at the other players, I'm still thinking, yeah, Nsue just might be that player who might actually go all the way. Not to forget that there are also some older players who are in the Africa Cup of Nations. Some of them have said they will retire, while some are hoping that they will get to play maybe one more tournament. So we'll see if this record will be broken. But it's looking like Nsue is a man who can actually break this record, hitting the year 40 and moving on from that one.
All right, 36 now, 2026, 37, 2027, 38.
Yeah.
That's, of course, the AFCON we'll be having in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, 2027 AFCON. So that means we will still have to wait an extra year again, maybe the next AFCON. Well, I don't know how possible that would be, but interesting times ahead. Let's look at the round of 16 fixtures at the moment. 2026 round of 16, of course, fixtures that would happen from this weekend. We have the likes of Senegal against Sudan, that's tomorrow, Mali against Tunisia, Morocco against Tanzania, South Africa against Cameroon, Egypt against Benin, Nigeria against Mozambique, Algeria against DR Congo, Cote d'Ivoire will take on Burkina Faso. Uduka Ojoku, you are there in Fez. The palpitations must have started. Calculators are out. What are the chances of these teams? Which of these games should we be looking forward to? Nigeria played first, maybe for the last time. I mean, if they get to win or lose, whatever it is, but I know a lot of people are expecting a win. Should we be scared, or should we, be optimistic that Nigeria can go all the way? Played against Mozambique. There's also a route that will take them to DR Congo, or I'm trying to remember the other team now. Algeria. I mean, that's in that particular order.
Well, Favor, it's not something to be afraid of playing against Mozambique, but because of how 2025 went for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, it becomes very skeptical for the Super Eagles. But against Mozambique, I don't expect anything but a win. Where we should be worried about is the game against either of Algeria or DR Congo. That game would be a crazy one for Nigeria. Depending on what happens, we need to beat Mozambique first. We need to survive Mozambique. Remember back in '98, that's not to be corrected, when we were going to play Denmark, and we're already thinking of Brazil in the next stage of the tournament. And we got beaten black and blue by Denmark, 4-1. So the players do not have to be complacent in this game against Mozambique. We need to take it one step at a time. So Mozambique first, get that win, and move on to the game between Algeria or DR Congo, which is the major one, which is key for the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
All right, Damiloju, let me come to you right in the studio. I mean, Udoka has spoken about that game, but let's look at the fixtures again. Interesting matches lined up for the round of 16. I mean, one would say arguably the biggest fixtures in the round of 16 maybe has to do with South Africa, Cameroon.
I agree.
Some will also look at maybe Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire. But which of these games are you looking forward to? It seems we might have heavyweight clashes in the quarterfinals, of this competition.
It's looking very likely that quarterfinal matches are going to be big. For the round of 16, it has to be South Africa and Cameroon. As a Nigerian, we know our history with Cameroon in the African Cup of Nations. We've lost 5 finals, 3 of them have been to Cameroon. So we would always be keeping an eye on what Cameroon's results is. South Africa, we have a bit of a derby with them, whether it's Amapiano that you call it, whatever the situation is. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Then our path also will be very, very important because that game between Algeria and Congo, a bit of history there as well. Congo, it's still very fresh. They're the reason we're not at the World Cup. Algeria knocked us out in the semi-finals en route winning the AFCON in 2019. So we would also be looking to see who will potentially play. Now, you talked about quarterfinal matches. You could have a Nigeria-Algeria situation. You could have a Morocco-South Africa situation. You could have some really, really tasty matches in the quarterfinals.
Okay.
South Africa, Cameroon, my most look forward to game in the round of 16, and I'm monitoring some of the other North African teams.
All right, Udoka Ojoku, before I let you go, I'll put you on the spot. We call it the games. You tell me who you think would progress to the quarterfinals. Let's start with the games to expect tomorrow. Senegal against Sudan. Which of these teams you think will go through? Senegal against Sudan?
Definitely on paper, Senegal will take this one because of the experience they have and the quality of players, most especially the likes of Sadio Mane. So I think Senegal will take this one over Sudan. But Sudan can also be a banana peel. But I'm expecting Senegal to take it.
All right, Mali against Tunisia.
Pretty tough one. I think that game will end in a goalless draw, 90 minutes, and head into extra time and penalties.
All right.
It gets into extra time and penalties. Tunisia edges it.
All right, interesting. What about Morocco against Tanzania?
I'm hoping that Tanzania can just do it, but home support today for Morocco. I know I'm being sentimental because I don't want Morocco in that final, but Morocco will take this one. But I'm just hoping for a miracle and upset.
All right, South Africa against Cameroon.
Tough to call. tough to call. Both teams are major rivals when it comes to football. But looking at South Africa's progression in the tournament so far, they have an edge. And Cameroon have been able to dust their shirts because of the crisis that they went through before coming to the Nations Cup. It will be a tough one. I also think this will end in a 90 minutes draw, and South Africa just might edge this one by an odd goal.
Okay, interesting. I hope those that play some stuff on white paper, you can actually place a bet on this. But let's go now straight to Egypt, Benin Republic. Egypt, Benin Republic.
Egypt, Benin Republic, a straight win for Egypt. They will beat Benin, white, blue, black, all colors of the rainbow.
Nigeria against Mozambique. I know where you stand, so Nigeria win. Let's move away from there now. Talk
Nigeria
about
win.
Algeria. Algeria will take on DR Congo.
Algeria will win this one with experience.
Okay.
But DR Congo have been able to prove their mettle in football, so anything can happen in that game.
All right, defending champions Côte d'Ivoire against Burkina Faso.
Côte d'Ivoire wins this one.
All right, Lucas predictions for the round of for the quarterfinals. It begins tomorrow, and we'll wait to see if all these will be ticked from your predictions. Thank you very much, Udoka Ojoko. We're hoping to see you again with more updates concerning the Africa Cup of Nations.
Thank you very much. Let me go sip some coffee.
All right, have it. Shukran. All right, Damiloju, I don't know if you share the same sentiment, but I think I have a feeling that Mali might just get the better of Tunisia.
There are a few games there that are very close to call. Mali against Tunisia is one of those that is in the balance. And I agree with Udoka that you could potentially have such a close one that it might need penalties. One thing I can't shake, I just feel like the whole pressure and the whole narrative is going to get to Salah and Egypt. And I think Benin might actually stun them. That is one result in this whole setup that I think we might have our jaws wide open and we cannot believe exactly what is happening. I think the other results, I want to tend to agree with majority of the things that he has said. That South Africa-Cameroon game is a difficult one to call, but because of all the heartache that Cameroon has given us in the AFCON, maybe they go a big.
Okay. All right, we've come to the end of the AFCON Express. We'll be back with more football stories.